Okay, thank you very much for inviting me. Of course, this is the main question for any stakeholder that creates records. And of course, it's a rhetorical question because we know what the answer is. Of course, neither humans nor companies can exist without a memory. So this, to persuade the records creators to hand over the records to us, this is a very important question. And of course, it is also for the archival society very important to ask the question, which are the most important records to collect? And for Norway, certainly, the oil and gas business is the major business in Norway. It's so very important. So just a couple of years ago, we didn't have much records from that most important industry. And we had to ask ourselves the question, have we succeeded if we lack these records? And just to show you a glimpse of how important it is, these figures will tell you everything about the role it plays in Norwegian society. For the last 4 decades, it has totally transformed Norwegian society, and it involves almost any kind of industry. So if we had failed to collect records from this industry, we would definitely have failed our mission. The continental shelf where Norway extracts oil and gas is 7 times as big as the land area. So it is a huge area that has a lot of resources and will play a major part of Norwegian economy for at least another 50 to 100 years, definitely. Stretches all the way up from Denmark to the North Pole. Okay, so what is the Norwegian Oil and Gas Archives? It's a service set up by the National Archives where we invite the oil and gas companies in Norway to share the benefits and of course also the costs of having an archival service. And we have called it the Norwegian Oil and Gas Archive to underline that this is a service also for the industry, for society of course, but also for the industry. And instead of putting up an archival service for each company, we follow a Norwegian tradition of doing something we call a shared effort. A dugnad is a Norwegian word for that. And the whole idea is that the companies hand over the records to the National Archives, but they keep ownership of it. They keep full control of access and availability, but we have a common service, which makes it better, we believe, and cheaper compared to if everybody was to do it on their own hand. So we collect records from both the major Norwegian companies and also the big international companies and their subsidiaries in Norway. And this is from the launching of the Norwegian Oil and Gas Archives 4 years ago, where we underline this by having the launching in ExxonMobil headquarters in Norway. They sponsored it, and sitting aside from the CEO of the Norwegian ExxonMobil is the Minister of Culture. And actually it was the first time a minister met at the ExxonMobil headquarters. This underlines the joint venture of this. For us, it was very important when we were persuading the companies to join this, to start with a business association, the Norwegian Oil and Gas Association, to start the planning together with them and have them being the door opener for when we address the companies. And of course, when trying to communicate the value of business archives, the question is also always, what's in it for the business community? And in addition to all the internal good uses that we all know about, for us and for the Norwegian Oil and Gas Association, it is very important to point out that if a company is going to take the role and get their version of what is happening out in society, they need to open their records for research, and for other stakeholders who are interested, journalists and so forth. Because we had a very good example of this when the Norwegian oil history was written 20 years ago. All the records that were used were from public records. And of course, that gave a very different picture of the business compared to what it would have been like if also the company records had been available. So this has been a very important thing to underline. And why the National Archives? Why have we done this? Well, we believe that it's a good idea because once we have taken in the records from these companies, they can, in principle, take them back if they want to. But we have made certain that these records will not be lost by chance if there is a merger, if there's a bankruptcy. It is stored there. It will only be lost if the companies decisively want to do so. Otherwise, it's secured. And of course, even the biggest companies, at some point, merge, disappear, and so forth. So after these years, we've actually managed to persuade all the major companies in Norway to join this effort, and have all contributed to both handing in the records and also in financing this. And also, I'm quite proud to say that we have actually persuaded them to put up many records on the internet. For example, minutes of board meetings. Both American, Italian, French, British, and Norwegian companies have actually put on the internet the whole board meeting minutes up to mid-80s, which is quite impressive, I think. Now, for us, when communicating the value of business archives, underlining the tradition and that things built on former experience is important. And we actually invited, on some occasions, people from the business community to discuss, to reflect on this, what I showed on the first slide. What if you don't have a memory? And for the oil and gas business, the past few years has been very difficult, and they have tried to reorganize, invent new stuff. And then tradition and archives become very important. And we try to meet the people from the business on their own events. And we had a very successful meeting in last year on the Offshore Northern Seas Conference, which is the second largest oil conference in the world, where we asked, could we have a session where we discuss the importance of memory and archives in a time of transition? And I'd like to show you a little video where we actually discussed with the CEOs of the companies how they should present this at this meeting where I have the picture from. And it kind of underlines and it gets you thinking and reflecting upon the importance of memory, experience, and archives. So I'll end by this.
At han ikke lenger husker noe som skjedde for 10 minutter, et kvarter siden. Så sa han nei, for han hadde glemt det, altså det var ikke eksisterende for han. Men han innså at for omgivelsene måtte dette være med lasten. Og det kan jo godt tenke seg. Og så er jo tanken da, kan det tenkes at mangelen på kollektiv hukommelse har mye større konsekvenser enn vi tror, eller er klar over, rett og slett fordi at for de fleste av oss er det en kollektiv hukommelse. Den finnes der ikke.
Bare litt noen kommentarer. Det er kjempeviktig, fordi at i dag når en skal liksom være etter oljen, så har du spørsmålet om at du skal hente noe ut av det blå. Det gjør du ikke det. Av og til så får vi inntrykk av at de plukker ting bare ut av lufta. Innovasjonen skal skje ut av det. Du ser på den marine siden vi har bygd opp i olje- og gassindustri. Det bygger jo på skipsfart og fiske. Så det kommer ikke ut av det. Det er en evolusjon.
Tenk på draugen der. Nesten 300 meter under vann, og så det 6 meter over. Hvis ikke det dristig, så vet jeg ikke hva. Og denne her som det Sognefjorden, ikke sant, med tårn som flyter på pontonger. Helt nye løsninger. Som mulig å tenke seg, som følger av erfaringen.
Det jo der oljeindustrien var på 60-tallet. Det jo på romfart, ikke sant? For det jo helt crazy at man skulle ut i rommet og gjøre ting. På samme måte så var det helt crazy at man skulle ut i Nordsjøen og ut i rommet. NASA har jo merket av Stavanger på kartet som en høyteknologisk by. Det har det altså noen av de skarpeste hjernene i USA, og de sitter og lurer på hvordan de skal bore 5 centimeter. Så satt vi og så på hverandre vi som kom fra Stavanger. Vi tenkte sånn grunnboring og et par hundre meter, tenkte jeg. La oss ha dette stolen, ikke sant? Vi skal jo lete etter tegn på liv og vann, så sier de at it will be Norwegian technology that first kills alien life.